I'm joined by Rhonda Fortin from the Pemetic School in Southwest Harbor and Jandrea from the Tremont Consolidated School in Tremont, Bass Harbor. And we're talking about the proposed pre-K program, which was going to start this year, but then COVID and all things COVID. So hopefully that's going to start next year. It's been approved by the select boards and by the school boards. And right now everything needs to go to town meeting. So Rhonda, your town meeting for Southwest is when?
It's on June 5th, Saturday, June 5th at the fire station.
Okay. And Jandrea for Bass Harbor Tremont is when?
It will be at the high school. It's a drive-in model, and it will be on Wednesday, May 5th, and I believe that's at 6 o'clock.
Okay. So assuming both of those get approved, which we hope, because it's a great thing for the kids to. Well, first of all, tell us why is pre-K so important?
Rhonda, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So we know that students who are able to take part in a quality pre-K program, they're less likely to have to repeat a grade later on, or they're less likely to need special ed services. So we're able to provide interventions to those students at a younger age, so that helps them get caught up with their peers. And they're more likely to graduate from high school, be employed, earn higher wages later on, less likely to have to depend on welfare, and have to be involved in law enforcement. So there's a great savings to the taxpayers. It's basically every dollar that the community can spend on pre-K saves us $7 down the road.
I know my older son, who's now almost 32 years old, has cerebral palsy and was given services through, I think it was Child
Development Service.
Yeah, CDS. There we go. So, I mean, this CDS steps in before the elementary school steps in. So if a child does need special services, this is then a way for the school to step in and provide those. Is that correct?
That's right. We'll partner with CDS for OT, PT, and speech services. Yep.
Okay. And Jandrea, how many, I know that a survey was sent out. How many kids from potential students would there be from Tremont?
So we have, as of today, 7 potential students from Tremont. And then there are a few families. One of the questions on the survey also asked looking ahead. And so there were a few families that even a year beyond right now would have younger students, and they've responded as well. Not that we haven't collected as much information about a year out from now, but we know that, we're trying to look long term, and for next year we're looking at 7 Tremont students. All right, and that I anticipate could grow.
Okay, and Rhonda from Pemetic, Southwest Harbor?
Yeah, from Southwest, there were 8 families that responded that they would be interested.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and of course, when that was done, there was no commitment, and there was nothing that anyone who hadn't sent in those surveys are obviously going to be able to participate and, register their children should this program go ahead. Mm-hmm. So correct. We were talking a little bit, Jandrea, how would what would be the format of it? How many days a week and time period?
So we would be looking at this being half-day programs for each town. So one town in the morning, one town in the afternoon, and they would follow the school calendar. One of the questions that's come up recently is about the early release proposal, and so if the early release proposal goes through, then there's equity in which group would be going in the morning and which group would go in the afternoon. Each group, they would switch midway through the year at the semester change. So it's in January that whichever group started out in the morning would then switch to the afternoon session just to provide equity in the programming and whatnot for students that way. So, so yeah, we'd be looking at 5 half days for each group.
I was kind of surprised when we were pre-gaming this whole interview about that that the towns would be segregated and that the Tremont kids would just stay together and the Southwest kids would stay together rather than meld them. And can you explain why that process? I mean, I understand in COVID, where in the COVID days, we want to have our little pods together, but hopefully this is post-COVID to an extent. Mm-hmm. But why is that decision made?
Correct. Thanks, Chris. So our thinking behind that was because these are groups that will then eventually, when the Tremont students move into kindergarten and Pemetic move into kindergarten the following year, we want them to have built a community of learners. We want them to be able to develop friendships and find peers that they will then move into kindergarten with. And so the goal of having them with their own towns is simply to be able to build a culture and climate that will transition with them into kindergarten the following year.
Okay. I'm always amazed. I think kindergarten teachers are probably God's gift to elementary education. When you they're half teachers, they're half mothers and fathers, they're mm-hmm. half drill sergeants. I was so lucky to be able to spend about 3 weeks in kindergarten with my older son after he'd had surgery. But I mean, it's always amazing to be able to go in to watch a kindergarten crew blossom in that, these are 5-year-olds that can't keep their hands to themselves, that can't line up straight, that don't know when they walk in the classroom and the hallway to stay to the right. And yet within X amount of time, they are lining up, they're being quiet, they're keeping their hands to themselves. They know the right from the left, they know which way to walk. I mean, it's just amazing to see the transformation. Yeah. You can comment on that, but this would obviously make that into a step lower for really 4-year-olds then.
That's right. They would be learning all those skills as 4-year-olds. Mm-hmm. So that when they transition into kindergarten, they have some of those skills already in place. Mm-hmm. And more focus will be in kindergarten on the academics and continuing with the social emotional growth as well. But we're really looking to expand that kindergarten program. And it kind of makes for the ability to have the pre-K and kindergarten. If students need it, it could be a 3-year process mm-hmm. for them.
What kind of curriculum? I mean, you don't want to make it. I know you do, but I mean, when you think of a pre-K program, what is involved in terms of the curriculum? What's the goal of the pre-K program?
So, Chris, we would be looking to use the Pre-K for Me program, which is provided through the Maine Department of Education, and it's based on a whole child approach on a play-based curriculum that is derived and adapted from Boston Public Schools and their programming, and it's a research-based program. So that's what we would be looking to utilize. Rhonda, is there anything you want to add to that?
Let me just, when you say play-based, what? I mean, I'm all in for tag. I'm all mm-hmm. in for playground time and things like that. But what do you mean by play-based?
So providing a lot of opportunities for kids to learn and explore with their hands, for there to be an outdoor learning component, for them to socialize and develop social and emotional skills naturally through interacting with their peers and whatnot. Again, Rhonda, I would welcome having anything that you want to add to that. If I'm missing something.
Yeah, just really building those social skills and how to be mm-hmm. a good friend and how to be a good community member and right. and bond with one another.
There are some adults that could go back to pre-K. I mean, those are skills that if they can learn that at the 4-year-old and build upon that, and be lifelong learners there, we're gonna reap the benefits when they become adults. There's no question of that. Now we just need to get them to be social media friendly and you know, at 4 years old. What else is involved in the pre-K program? Now, one question or one thing that we need to clarify, this would be done at the Pemetic School in
Right.
Southwest Harbor.
Correct.
Busing would be provided for those that need it from Tremont.
Correct.
Which is right down the road. I mean,
Right.
it's not like, right, you're going to go on for an hour-long bus ride. But Southwest would provide busing as well.
That's
And
right.
I'm assuming at this age, it's probably pick up at the children's house, or rather than being at a bus stop.
Right.
Okay. All right. What else is involved that the community needs to know?
So there's a few things that I can think of that I think are important for the community to just be aware of. In terms of enrollment, that is something, registration is something that we've moved to an online platform for registration, and that's something that would need to happen after we have voter approval at town meetings. Then we would be able to open up registration, and so families would be able to find information for that through our schools and on our school websites or in our newsletters when the time is appropriate.
And let me just interrupt you. And people should be doing that right now for kindergarten. So if you are, what, 5 years old as of, what is the magic cutoff date?
October 15th.
Okay. So if you're 5 years old as of October 15th, you're eligible to go to kindergarten next year. And that's being done online, and you can always call the school if you have questions. And you just need to have proof of residency, the birth certificate, and immunization. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And all of that can be uploaded, and just you can take a picture if you don't know how, right? So, okay. You don't need a scanner. You've got your own scanner with your cameras, or you could bring it to school and they'll help you too.
We'd be more than happy to help.
Or the library, right? Okay. So sorry, continue. It was like squirrel, and we just went back.
No, that's a great point. And we are working through across the district. We're working through our kindergarten screenings anyway, so that is perfect timing to just put that information out there. And we are also planning to have parent and community forums that will be virtual. And the first one will be on April 27th from 5 to 6 o'clock. And we will have a second one on Tuesday, May 4th from 5 to 6 o'clock as well. And so we'll be utilizing our newsletters and our school websites and possibly working with you, Chris, as well, to be able to get information out about those events and to be able to provide a link for access to those.
Okay, excellent. Rhonda, anything else you want to add? I mean, so the half days, no lunch. I mean, I'm hungry right now, but to be snack provided, yeah. Whether it's in the morning or in the after, you know. So when we're talking half days for 4-year-olds, that's a long. That's what, 2.5, 3 hours. What time would it start for the morning session and end, and then for the afternoon session to begin and end?
The morning session would begin with the regular school day at about 8:10, 8:15.
Okay.
And the
go to 11:30 roughly?
Yeah.
Roughly 11:30, yep.
11:30. Okay. And then the second group would come in and end with the end of the school day for 3 o'clock.
Okay, and arrive what, at noontime or 12:30 or?
We're ironing that out. We're still working on the lunch piece, so we'll see.
Right.
You know, depends on if we provide lunch or not. So, that's a detail that we haven't completely ironed out yet.
Okay. So, all right. Anything else that I forgot to ask or?
I think the only other thing that I can think of is just the number of slots. So we're looking to try to offer between 12 and 14 slots for each community, for the morning session and the afternoon session. And we are not quite sure yet what COVID restrictions might remain in place for next year that might have to help us to determine that, and just thinking about the spacing that might be necessary. So we're aiming for 12 to 14 students in each session.
You have, I mean, Rhonda, at the Pemetic school, you have the capability of a classroom that can accommodate 12 to 14 without any difficulty. And just to, I guess, in the event that we are still under some COVID restriction, would they be in the same classroom in the morning and then go into the afternoon? So you'd have to disinfect or let's sanitize, because we don't want to say disinfect. I mean, it sounds like people have cooties or something like that. But so the sanitize, right?
Right.
So you'd be able to sanitize everything in between the morning and afternoon session.
Correct.
Okay.
And I just would want to say that we don't know what COVID restrictions that we'll be under, but because we're a public school, kids would still need to wear masks. You know, if we're at that point. So if parents do have little ones that aren't used to wearing a mask, practicing with them before they come.
Yeah, and well, I mean,
important.
Let's face it. I think we all are probably under the assumption that we will still be masked come September, even though New Hampshire has taken away the mask mandate. I think it's probably safe to assume that Maine will be under a mask mandate through early fall. And really, anybody over 2 years old is supposed to be wearing a mask. Right. But the one thing that we've seen is that the kids are far better wearing masks than adults are.
Yes,
I mean, there's no question. They are far better. And, you know, everybody was like, oh my God, how are we going to tell the kids, keep your mask up, don't touch your mask, put it over I mean, it's like part of their face now. I mean, they're pros at it.
I think we underestimate kids. We underestimate what our students can do. Kids are really super resilient, and there's so much. I think we mentioned this earlier, but there's an awful lot that we learn from our kids. So you're absolutely right. They've just been tremendous this year with that, and that has really not been something that we've had to spend a lot of time working on. It's just part of what they see modeled, and they just have done it brilliantly.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. All right, ladies, have a great vacation. We wish everybody a super vacation, and we know it's all needed, both families, teachers, building principals, everyone, and all support staff. So we hope everybody has a nice vacation. Everybody stay safe, follow all the CDC guidelines, so that way all the schools can stay open as we come back and finish off the school year. But this is exciting, and hopefully we get voter approval, and we look forward to talking with you further about pre-K. And I think it's kind of cool to see the communities working together. And so maybe this would be the first of a model that could be spread around the island. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Chris. Take care.